The realignment machine continues to keep cranking, as this week we got news that Texas State is officially going to join the new Pac-12 conference. This was a move that was heavily rumored for a while, ever since Tulane, Memphis, UTSA, and USF turned down the Pac-12's first offer, and the conference was left with either adding Sam Houston State, New Mexico State, or Texas State because of the situation with the Mountain West. Honestly, if you told me 10 years ago that Texas State was going to be moving to the Pac-12, they'd be thinking that either something terribly wrong happened or a whole bunch of schools in Texas merged to create a huge one. But no, it's still Texas State, and really you'd be kind of right to say something terrible happened to the Pac-12. In today's video, we're to go over Texas State as a school, where they currently are as a program, how good of a program they are, and their official move to join the Pac-12. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about Texas State football. If you're constantly on the go or tired of skipping meals, Huel has you covered. They're today's sponsor, and they're spelled H-U-E-L. Their Black Edition Ready to Drink is a total game changer. It's a complete meal in one bottle with 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, it's high in fiber and low in sugar. So not only will you feel full, but you'll also feel focused and ready for your day. There's no prep, there's no cleanup. Huel's already sold over 500 million meals around the world, and now it is your turn to try it. Because you're a viewer of the Scott Fisher YouTube channel, new customers will get 15% off plus a free gift at Huel.com when you use my code FISHER, that is F-I-S-H-E-R. Honestly, there are tons of days where I don't really feel like making breakfast, so having a bottle to just grab and go that also gives me everything I need for the day is just extremely convenient and has honestly been awesome. It helps me to work on the go or work out in public without having to worry about making some sort of meal. Huel is a perfectly balanced meal while also saving you time. It's designed by experts to provide all the nutrients that your body needs from a meal, and Huel takes the guesswork and time out of healthy eating. No prep, no cooking. It also tastes like a milkshake, so it's not like a disgusting thing of protein powder or something like that. And it's also less than $5. It's budget friendly, and I'm genuinely excited about it. My favorite is the Black Edition Ready to Drink because it has a whopping 35 grams of protein. Start saving time and money without compromising on nutrition today with this exclusive offer for new customers for 15% off and a free gift using my code FISHER, F-I-S-H-E-R, at Huel.com, Huel.com. I want to give them a shout out for sponsoring today's video, and now let's talk about some transfer quarterbacks. Before we get into why Texas State was added, we have to go back to the beginning. Despite being named Texas State, they're not actually a major land-grant school in the state of Texas, as they are located in San Marcos, which is about an hour-long drive away from San Antonio and a 45-minute drive away from Austin. They're right between two of the biggest cities in the state, and the university was started in 1899 as Southwest Texas State. They'd stay that way with minor name changes until about 2003, when they shortened their name to just Texas State officially. Despite being a smaller college in Texas for most of its life, Southwest Texas State has a lot of interesting history outside of football and sports in general. President Lyndon B. Johnson graduated from there in 1930, but ever since it started, Texas State has grown at a rapid rate. While not as fast as schools like UCF or USF, Texas State has added acre upon acre of land to create more colleges and more degrees for their students. Right now, they have over 40,000 students on campus, which is higher than a lot of Power 5 schools, and will be the highest in terms of enrollment in the new Pac-12. They started their football program in 1951 as members of the now Division II Lone Star Conference, and they originally started the conference with other schools in 1931, but would not start a football program until 20 years later. They stayed in that conference even after the Lone Star Conference moved to Division II, and they were almost immediately one of the better programs in D2 college football. Southwest Texas State won back-to-back D2 national championships in 1981 and 1982, and made the playoffs again in 1983 before dropping everything and leaving the Lone Star Conference for the 1AA Gulf Star Conference all the way back in 1984. The Gulf Star Conference was an FCS conference that only lasted a couple of years, and while Texas State shared the Lone Star with teams like North Texas and Sam Houston State, only Sam Houston was left with them in the Gulf Star, and other schools like Stephen F. Austin and Nichols State were the only other schools of note. It only lasted a few years before it was absorbed into the Southland Conference back in 1987, and Southwest Texas State would go with the rest of their conference mates. The Bobcats struggled once they moved up to the FBS, as their best finish in the conference rankings from 1984 to 2004 was third. But in 2005, under head coach David Bailiff, they went 11-3 with a 5-1 record in the conference and finished first in the Southland. They even made it to the FCS playoffs for the first time in team history, but lost to Northern Iowa. They made it back to the playoffs in 2008 under Brad Wright after going 8-5 and finishing second before losing to Montana in the first round. By this point, they changed their name to Texas State San Marcos, and they did this in 2003 after the student government approached the Texas Board of Regents with the idea in order to make the school seem less regional and more aimed towards top-tier school status. In 2013, they changed their name officially from Texas State San Marcos to just Texas State University, which is what they're named today. But they did this as members of the FBS. Texas State moved from the FCS Southland Conference to the FBS WAC in 2012, spending 2011 as an independent under NCAA rules. When the WAC fell apart in 2012, they then joined the Sun Belt in 2013, becoming the conference's only team in Texas after North Texas left for Conference USA that same year. Like what had happened with the FCS though, Texas State struggled at the FBS level for the longest time. They made their first bowl game in 2023 under G.J. Kinney and won another bowl in 2024, but they've never won the Sun Belt, and they won't as they're now moving to the Pac-12 unless they win the conference in their last year. In terms of football performance, Texas State has an all-time record of 541, 504, and 25, or a win percentage under 52%. They've gone 2-0 in bowl games, like I said before, and have actually won 14 conference titles, but none of them have been at the FBS level. Texas State will actually have one of the smallest stadiums in the Pac-12 conference as they play in Bobcat Stadium, which is now known as UFCU Stadium. It used to seat 30,000 people, but after some recent renovations, it dropped down to under 28,000. But since one of its end zones is pretty open, there's a chance that if they continue their success under Coach Kinney and keep growing their student fan base, they could easily expand past 30,000 to maybe even 40,000. In fact, their student population and their fan base is part of the reason why they were added to the new Pac-12 in this new round of realignment. Unlike just about every other American Conference school that the Pac-12 was looking at, like Tulane or Memphis, Texas State doesn't really have a good track record in any sport at the D1 level. They were good as a D2 school about 45 years ago, but that might as well be ancient history by now. So even after a couple of good seasons in football, Texas State isn't anywhere near a good ad in terms of football brand strength or even in men's basketball. The Bobcats have only made the NCAA tournament twice, and that was all the way back in 1994 and 1997. The arena does seat 10,000 fans, which is pretty big for a non-power conference team, but it was built in the 80s and might need another refurbishment since their last change was back in 2016. They have an all-time basketball record of 604 and 644 at the D1 level, which is around 48%. They're a little bit better of a baseball school though, claiming 5 conference regular season titles, including 2 in the Sun Belt in 2019 and 2022, and last made the college baseball tournament that year. But baseball is not a revenue sport, and no conference would add a team just based on how good at baseball they are. The Bobcats are actually considered one of the sleeping giants in college sports, and it's not just because they're named Texas State now instead of Southwest Texas State. If you look at their student population of around 41,000 students, they're actually closer to schools like Texas Tech, Georgia, and Maryland than they are to any other team in the Pac-12 and any other team in their former conference, the Sun Belt. A big school like that means if a team starts to perform well, there's a greater chance that their students are going to care. And with more students graduating from the school every year, their alumni base can be very large in just a few seasons. Like the Big 12 at UCF, the Pac-12 might be betting on a raise in athletics funding, helping Texas State to reach their fans, meaning more fans tuning into Pac-12 games, which means more money. That's the root of it all always. Right now, there is an issue though. Texas State is still a growing school, and they were just in the FCS a few years ago, so the majority of Bobcats alumni probably care more about Texas or Texas A&M athletics than they do about Texas State. The younger Bobcat fans have probably been bought in for a few years now, but it'll take some more time before the alums start to actually care, and not just treat the school as a commuter school. And while geography isn't a huge issue, Texas State is a full 15.5-hour drive away from their nearest conference mate, and that's Colorado State. At worst, it's a 33-hour drive away from Oregon State and a 31-hour drive away from Wazoo. Bobcats fans will be excited to watch their team on TV, but may not provide much of a boost in terms of traveling fans. If other South Central teams had been added to the Pac-12 like Tulane, UTSA, or even Rice, the conference would have had a better flag to plant in the state of Texas, and even in the Central Time Zone, but as of right now, they are sort of on an island. But it doesn't mean the door is closed for those schools, and there's one team that I think the Pac-12 should focus on adding in the future, and that would make Texas a huge point for them, and it's actually not Rice, it's UTSA. Despite the two schools sharing the same market, meaning the Pac-12 would not get any more TV sets, the rivalry between UTSA and Texas State is so vibrant that it would almost make up for it alone. It's called the I-35 rivalry, and it's pretty similar to the rivalry game between USF and UCF. They also have a small rivalry with Sam Houston State, which is the only other rivalry in the FBS right now. They don't really care about any of the other teams in the state of Texas though. But that brings us to the question as to why Texas State was the team that was added and not another team like Tulane or Memphis. The shortest answer is that Texas State was the best team that the Pac-12 could get in a short amount of time. Their money issues meant that they could not pay the conference exit fees for anybody from the American quite yet, and they already rated everyone of value from the Mountain West, save for maybe UNLV, who didn't want to make the move. But time was against them since they only had 7 FBS members, and the NCAA requires that a conference have at least 8 in order to keep their status. They have Gonzaga, but that's for basketball. That meant the Pac-12 was on a ticking clock and needed to get the best team available with a buyout that was fairly cheap and somewhat Western as to keep travel costs somewhat low. That left New Mexico State, Sam Houston State, and Texas State as the top 3 options, and Texas State without a doubt had the highest ceiling and the best opportunity to put in now. In short, the Bobcats got really lucky, but had the opportunity to do great things in this new conference, and we'll see what can happen. They picked the right time to get decent, as GJ Kinney is a really good coach, but I'm sure he could get scooped up by a Power 4 school here soon, especially if he has another good season. Texas State will need to pour money into the facilities, get students to buy into the football program, and keep their coaching staff if they ever want to see success, but for now, it's really good for them and it's the next step up. But what do you guys think? If you're a Texas State football fan, what do you think of this move? How do you think they will do in the new Pac-12? And what program should I profile next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out some of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.